What it do, peeps, what it do. Back at the bus barn, we about to take off. The bus is gassed. I got your buffet on the bus: brisket, ribs, smoked sausage, potato salad, baked beans, corn on the cob. I got you covered. Everything on the bus. A lot of players got on the bus. The majority of the WNBA got on the bus. Kathy Engelbert got on the bus. Nafisa Collier got on the bus. The Players Association, all the reps, they're in the front of the bus. They're chopping it up. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are still in the back. We're going to get this thing pushing. We're going to drive to Nashville, Tennessee, and we're going to drop a couple players off at Athletes Unlimited. Athletes Unlimited has a nice pool of the players. The oldest player at Athletes Unlimited is Alyssa Clark. She's 38 years old. Keep that in mind as we go forward. Athletes Unlimited gets a little help from the WNBA. The WNBA app will play all the Athletes Unlimited games, thereby promoting the players that actually play in the WNBA. Folks, you gotta have to make some tough decisions. In all negotiations, there's some casualties, there's some choices, and some trade-offs. A lot of these players, they don't really understand. After the All-Star break, the T-shirt protest and the lack of sportsmanship that was on display from that point all the way up and through the finals, it's going to come back. And it's going to come back at the bargaining table. See, now there's no more media. Media is going on to cover the college basketball. Some of the media people are going to go and cover other sports, football, such and so forth. So the spotlight is dwindling. People are going to put the WNBA players and the WNBA in their rear view. Now, everything that they've said, standing on business, it's not personal, it's business. They're going to have to deal with that laundry list that the league has been compiling and keeping silent. So we're in Nashville. We're dropping off a bunch of players: Ariel Atkins, Sarah Ashley Lee Barker, Kirsten Bell, Lexi Brown, Tina Charles, Caitlin Chan, Sydney Colson, Bree Hall, Isabel Harrison. I'm going to leave a link to the players that are playing in in Athletes Unlimited. You need to make cuts. Which players from this list can't make your squad, can't make your Liberty, can't make your Fever, can't make your Sparks? Which players? Because remember, like Charles Barkley said, and he said it, and you have to pay attention to what he said, most players are special teams players, which means they are the bottom rung of players. They're just basketball players. You got to keep in mind too, everything's going to go up. The salary cap's going to go up. The minimum salary for players is going to go up. The minimum salary requirements, because right now the salary cap's $1.5 million. You have to spend 1.4. You have to spend 1.4 million. My guess, the salary cap goes up to $5.5 million on the high end and around 4.5 on the low end. They're going to give some wiggle room this year because they don't want to have the mistake like they had where you can't really pay to get a 7-day player or a relief player. So they want to leave a little wiggle room. High end 5.5. That means roughly on average, about 5 players on your team are going to make about $300,000. 3 are going to make about $500,000, and then the rest will be a couple max players that are making over $1 million or at $1 million, and about two other players making between $750,000 to $800,000. Keep in mind, the majority of the players are in the basement, or as Charles Barkley said, special teamers. They're not stars. So you got to balance that out. And at the same time, keep in mind, the league wants to get rid of some bad apples. So about 10% of the league will not even be given a contract. Keep that in mind. But I'll leave a link to everybody that's going to Athletes Unlimited. Let's keep the bus rolling. Because the next stop we got to make is at Unrivaled. But before we get to Unrivaled, we have to let Angel Reese off the bus. Because Angel Reese is by far the most popular player and the most marketed player that played Unrivaled. And since she hasn't decided what she wants to do with Unrivaled, we're going to let her off in Miami, but not at the Unrivaled headquarters in Miami. So we're going to let Angel Reese off. Angel Reese is going to get off the bus, and a lot of Angel Reese fans are going to get off the bus with her because they're going to follow her and pay attention to what she's doing, because she's got Victoria's Secret stuff coming up, not really a bunch of basketball stuff coming up on the horizon. So until Angel Reese says she's going to play in Unrivaled, when she does, I'll pick her back up and I'll drop her back off at Unrivaled. So we're pulling up at Unrivaled campus. Unrivaled did a great job of getting players that weren't that old, because the oldest player in Unrivaled was Courtney Vandersloot, but she's not playing in season 2. The oldest player now is Skylar Diggins-Smith. Skylar Diggins-Smith is 35. For reference, she's the same age as Kevin Durant. She's the same age as Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. So she's up there. They're on the end of their careers as well as she is too. But the other players, some of them are in their 20s, some are in their early 30s, like Alicia Gray, Chelsea Gray. They're in their early 30s. But there's a few players on this roster that won't be making it back to the W. When I turn this bus around, they're not going to make it back to the W. So you gotta decide. You saw Brittany Griner. She did a lot of dirt, said a lot of stuff early this season, put a target on her back. You've seen Dejanay Carrington. You've seen Marina Mabry. All these players reside in Unrivaled. So you got to make a decision on who does not make the cut that's going to Unrivaled. I'll leave a link, but those players I just named, the WNBA can do without them. Easy peasy. So let's leave Unrivaled. We still have Kathy Engelbert on the bus. We still have Nafisa on the bus. These ladies have a conversation, a huge one, because they both have to talk about my next stop. They both have to talk about Project B. Now, Nafisa, if you recall, her husband said we tried to go to the NBA first to get that funding. Well, they knew what was coming too. They knew Project B was coming. And Project B is more of a threat to Unrivaled than it is to the W, because the W has the husband's business to shield it and protect it. And with the new CBA and being in America, as I call it, Granny's house, you're afforded a lot more liberties than you are abroad. So the W is now starting to look a whole lot better on paper for players, a destination for players. Even players that are worldwide or international players, they see the W as a spot to make money and grow beyond basketball. See, here you can get those endorsement deals and get a nice, comfortable living. Nobody's buying a shoe when you leave and go play in China and we don't see the game. Out of sight, out of mind. Once again, Charles Barkley said, do not overplay your hand. The hand has now been overplayed. So, these two are having a conversation. Fee still needs NBA backing. Still wants to make that connection, keep that bridge open with the WNBA. Kathy now is like, no, you must stand on your own. Remember everything you said when we couldn't talk, we couldn't meet, and we couldn't hash out our differences on the contract. Well, we're going to hash out those differences, but I'm going to do it with the bargaining unit because they're on the bus too. And the rest of the players that are still on the bus, they're listening and they're watching. The fans are listening and watching. Kathy's going to get the deal done. Kathy gets the deal done. As they say, it's going to be transformational for women's basketball, and it is, but at a price. Everybody's not going to benefit from that deal. A lot of these players who think they're stars, like Charles Barkley said, are not stars indeed, and they will only promote the stars. They're only going to have these stars, the ones that can truly play basketball, and they're going to weed out the riffraff through this same process. So we pull up at Project B. Now the players are seeing the reality. Oh man, we backed ourselves into a corner. Project B is their only option, but they have to get off the bus on blind faith because they don't know when they're going to play, when they're going to get paid. They can just sign. So several of them get off. It's only 156 players. I say 24 of them get off the bus at Project B. Now, the only player that you really know that's still on the bus is Fee Collier and Caitlin Clark. Asia Wilson, I got to drop her off in Vegas with the Aces. There's only 3 stars in the league. Only 3. Only 3 that really deserve top pay. Those are the 3 most comfortable players in the WNBA. Fee Collier, Asia Wilson, Caitlin Clark. I dropped Asia off back in Las Vegas. She's fine. She's comfortable. I dropped Fee off in Minnesota because she's going to catch a flight back to Miami because she's got to get ready for the onslaught of players that are now going to be worried about their careers because they're not coming back to the W. So she's got to stand on the business and she's got to provide jobs. So I suspect that Unrivaled will open up the gates a little bit, open up the purse strings, and allow those players in. But there's one more stop we got to make, and that stop is college basketball. Because it's important to Unrivaled, it's important to Project B, and it's super important to the W. Because Fee did something last summer, or this past summer, that was a calculated move. The richest area of talent resides in women's college basketball. All 3 of these entities need women's college basketball. Or 4 actually, with Project B and Athletes Unlimited. But they all need that. So we're pulling up Notre Dame campus. We got Hannah Hidalgo. She's in her junior year. We also pull up at South Carolina. You got Chloe Kitts. TCU, we got Olivia Miles. Fee has gotten a bunch of these players already on NIL deals because they're, like I said, Unrivaled should have basically been a development league for the WNBA, but she decided to turn it into something else. But it's going to be an arms race to get the top players. Keep in mind, we're driving through all these college campuses. There's one person still on the bus that's a basketball player. That is Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark still fiercely loyal to the WNBA. But her patience can get thin, and she's only got 2 more years left on her contract. But all of them need that fertile soil from college. In the NCAA, there are 16,000 women that play college basketball. 5,000 of those women play in Division I. That's where all the McDonald's High School All-Americans reside. If you recall, earlier this year, Kathy Engelbert was at the McDonald's High School All-American game already recruiting and scouting players for the league. She said there was a few players in the McDonald's game that could play in the W. I thought that was very interesting at the time, but now going forward, I understand it. They all see the storm coming. They all see the arms race to get the best talent. Keep in mind, superstars are one thing. Like Charles Barkley said, superstars are going to get paid. Superstars are there. Caitlin Clark is a superstar. Caitlin Clark became a superstar in college. Without college, Caitlin Clark is not even on your radar. That's why college basketball is the most important asset for women's college and for women's basketball, women's sports in general on a professional level. Project B knows that, the W knows that, and Unrivaled knows that. What Project B is going to do is start plucking players from college and offer them big money to leave college and play. And that will be when you start seeing college basketball erode, because there's nothing prohibiting these women from leaving college basketball. And that's where the bus will stop, is at college basketball. Caitlin Clark has a bunch of decisions to make where she's going to play. My bus will travel wherever Caitlin Clark goes. Whatever Caitlin Clark plays in, I will cover. But I still think Caitlin Clark ultimately goes back to college, gets off that bus at Iowa, and does the runs, and gets ready for Team USA. Team USA will not start practice until in the springtime. I'll be right there covering it. But right now, college basketball, pay attention to it, because all of these leagues are looking at the next crop of talent. Because, like Charles Barkley said, a lot of these players played their hands trying to get money, and their replacements are coming in, and they're going to be a lot cheaper than overpriced, overage WNBA players. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to leave links to the players that are going to Unrivaled, going to Athletes Unlimited, and the ages and the salaries of all the players. Because contrary to popular belief, the only players making under 100,000 are players like Lexi Hull that are like within 5 years and under on the ages. Most of these players make $200,000, a large majority. If I just read off a few of the names and you'd be like, damn, she makes 200, she makes 200. You have to go through. Kelsey Mitchell makes the most money out of any player in the league. Kelsey Mitchell got a $20,000 bonus just to not play overseas. That put her at the top. Before that, she was tied with Arike and Jewel Lloyd. So Kelsey Mitchell makes $269,000. Jewel Lloyd makes $249,000. Arike makes $249,000. Kalia Copper made $248,000. If we skip down, Sabrina Netsku's at 5. She makes $222,000. If we skip down, Natasha Howard makes $214,000. Brianna Jones makes $214,000. Nafisa Collier makes $214,000. If we skip down some more to number 25, NECA makes $195,000. Chelsea Gray makes $196,000, and she comes in at number 24. If we skip down some more, Bridget Carlton and Michaela Wnba make $125,000. If we skip down some more, Tysha Harris of the Dallas Wings makes $100,000. Sophie Cunningham is $100,000 even, and she's at the 53rd spot. Delmaris Dantas makes $100,000. Rachel Banham makes $95,000. That's when it starts getting under $100,000. Suge Sutton makes $93,000. Lexi Brown makes $96,000. If we skip down some more, Paige Beckers makes $78,000. That's when you start getting the people that are on their rookie deals. Paige Beckers makes $78,000. Sonia Citrone makes $78,000. Kiki Irifin makes $78,000. That's when you get to the lower salaries. So keep that in mind as you make your cuts, because those players are locked in on deals. It's the ones above them, the ones that are making $100,000 to the $200,000 range. And keep in mind how they've acted this season. Neck of body slamming people. Brittany Griner acting ignorant. You name it. Marina Mabry, dirty player. Hartley, dirty player. Imagine those women in your league making $500,000. $500,000, and you get the same basketball play. That's why they're not going to be able to get back on the bus. I can't pick them back up. But you let me know what you think. Put your comments, put your cut list in the comments. I want to see the cuts. I'll put my cuts in the comments. The first comment will be my cuts. Who I think the league should just say, you know what? Thank you for what you've done, but we're not going to have you going forward. Leave your comments below, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.